Out of everything that went on in 3rd grade, the one thing that really stood out the most to me was my 3rd grade musical. My 3rd grade musical was called The Elves Impersonator. It was a Christmas show. Basic plot line of it is there's this character Elvis, like Elvis Presley, but like in elf form. Clever, I know. So Elvis goes to the North Pole to go hang out with all of his elf friends. But the elves, when he gets there, they're all like, "Whoa, you're not an elf, you don't look like us, you look different, you can't be here." And Elvis is like all, "Oh man, that sucks, cause like I really wanted to hang out with all of you guys. Why does it matter that I look different?" And then he leaves the North Pole, and he's all sad and upset because they don't accept him for who he is. And then all the elves are like, "Oh man, we shouldn't have done that, he feels really bad now." I mean, it's not good to make people feel bad. And then of course, Elvis comes back, or Elvis comes back, and he's like, "Oh yeah guys, it's all okay, you know, we're all different, we accept each other's differences, so it's all good, you know, we're cool." So yeah, really interesting plot line, I guess. So when I was in kindergarten, my brother was in 3rd grade, and his 3rd grade musical was The Elves Impersonator, because we rotate every 3 years between these 3 holiday musicals. When I saw it in kindergarten, I saw Elvis up on that stage, and I'm like, dang, in 3 years, that's gonna be me. And so then 3 years later, when they go through their rotation of the 3 different holiday shows, of course, Elves Impersonator comes up, and I'm like, oh, here we go. I'm gonna rock this. I'm gonna get that role. And so then the audition process was pretty much anybody who wanted to be any of the main characters, so Elvis, Mrs. Claus, Santa Claus, and Rudolph, stayed in for recess one day. I know, that's a really big sacrifice to make as a 3rd grader. We all hung out in the music room, and our music teacher would call us up, have us sing a little bit, read some of their lines, and, you know, see how things worked, see who she wanted as the role. So I went up there, I was super nervous, I was shaking like crazy. I went ahead and did it, and I sang my song, I read my lines, and it was all, you know, pretty good for a 3rd grader who doesn't have any theater experience. So then after auditions, the next day in music class, the music teacher was saying, yesterday I was writing down all these notes and putting them all together, and I took everyone who I thought would be good for the part and put them all in a hat and picked one out, and that's how I picked the roles. And I'm thinking, oh shoot, there were so many other people that would have been just as good as me. I'm not gonna get the role since she's just drawing out of a hat. She didn't announce who was playing which role until the following week, but that Friday I was in gym class, and my gym teacher goes, "Josh, congratulations, I heard you got the part of Elvis." And I'm like, "Thanks for ruining the surprise!" Still not over that. So anyway, I get to music right after gym class, actually, and when I got in there, I'm like, "Hey, the gym teacher said that I got the role of Elvis. I don't know if that's true. I mean, if it is true, that's really awesome, but is it?" And she's like, "You weren't supposed to know until next week, but yes, you are Elvis." And I'm like, "Pow!" But I mean, the casting process definitely wasn't picking out of a hat. Like, everyone in that class knew that I was the favorite student out of anyone, and so that's how I landed my first lead role in a musical. The first of many. Just kidding, I've never been a lead in a musical. Anyway, so then we get into all the practices, and I mean, obviously the practices weren't long after school rehearsals. It was all just in music class, singing through the songs, learning lines, you know, the basic stuff where every kid in every class has one line in the whole show. And then when it got closer to the show, we saw our costumes, and the music teacher pulled out my costume, and it looked not so great. But my mom, being a costume designer, decided, okay, I'm taking matters into my own hands, so I'm gonna go ahead and make you your own Elvis costume. So that's what she did. She took my measurements, she bought fabric, and just threw together an Elvis costume in the course of like a weekend. When we got to doing full run-throughs, we would get out of an hour or so of class each day to go down to the gym on their little mini stage they set up in there, and we would practice through the songs and going through lines and just going through the whole show. And then when we got to this one scene where I came back, where I, being Elvis, came back from wherever I went. I don't even know where I went. I came back and I was all happy again. I came back up on stage with these two elves that went to go rescue me or whatever, and my music teacher says, "Oh, by the way, for this scene, you're gonna come back with Krispy Kreme donuts because Elvis really liked jelly-filled donuts." And I'm like, best role ever! So that was pretty awesome, being able to eat donuts on stage. Like, I mean, I don't know of any Tony Award-winning musicals that have the actors eating donuts on stage, so. But all in all, my third grade musical was a really fun and eye-opening experience for me, because this was my first exposure to theater, my first exposure to performing for an audience. And doing this was amazing for me, because this led up to me following one of my biggest passions, and that's theater. So it's weird how this little show that we put together in 2 weeks and performed in front of the parents in the sweaty gym had such a huge impact on me, and how it really pushed me in the direction of where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do as I proceeded through life. And I think that's just one of those incredible things where the little things just mean so much to you. Thanks for watching, and stay hydrated.